I do not. I was trying to educate myself on the trans experience. What's up, everyone, and welcome to our channel, or welcome back if you've been here before. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. We are going to be talking about our favorite books of 2021. I want to start off by saying these books are in no particular order. That would be way too stressful to do. It was stressful enough trying to pick 5. So yeah, as always, we appreciate you guys so much. If you like what we do here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell to be notified every time we upload a new video. And it's also super helpful if you leave us a like on the video. And then down in the comments, if you want to let us know if any of these were your favorite books, or honestly, if you didn't like these books too, that would be very interesting, and we would love to hear about that. So yeah, we're going to kick it off with the books and talk about our favorites of 2021.
All right. You going to start this one off?
Sure.
Okay.
A book that I have never talked about on this channel before. It's going to be a shock to most of you. But yeah, so let's just kick it off. This book called Stay Gold.
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it. I'm sorry that I've talked about this book so much on this channel. I think it would be weird if it didn't end up on my favorites of 2021.
True.
And rather than going through and telling you all about why, or about what these books are about, we're only going to tell you why we love them, and then you can search the premise of them if you'd like. But I love this book because it was the first book I ever read that featured a trans masculine character, and also he falls in love with a cis female, and it's about their struggles together and navigating that. I will say, when I looked at the reviews of this book, there is a very serious scene at the end. So I'll give a trigger warning for abuse, not domestic abuse, mostly transphobia that led to abuse. And that's all that I'll say about that. But yeah, you should check it out if you want to know more about the trans experience.
You don't know anything about it.
I do not. I was trying to educate myself on the trans experience.
Right.
I do feel more educated now.
You do?
Yes.
You feel like you could speak on it?
Not quite, no.
No, not yet. Not
it's
really.
very complicated.
I know a lot about it.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe you could teach me.
Maybe. All right. So again, since we're going to do...
books we never talked about before?
Yeah, books we've never ever talked about before. My first favorite is Brando Sando.
Indie.
Yeah, indie famous not famous.
Tilt down a little.
Indie author Brandon Sanderson. That's a joke, by the way. Obviously, I don't probably need to tell anybody that.
No.
I read the Stormlight Archives 1 through 4 this year. I will probably actually, just thinking about it, reread them throughout this year. I loved the series. I think Brandon Sanderson is a truly gifted author, particularly with world building. My favorite out of the series was Oathbringer. It's the 3rd book. I won't say too much about it. Obviously, it's the 3rd book in the series. This one I feel like The Way of Kings built the world really well. I think Words of Radiance did a good job beginning to bridge world building with character building. And then I think Oathbringer is really just that, my kind of favorite element of just character development. Because you have the world, you know the systems. Now we're really getting into the nitty-gritty of these people and the hearts of them. And he has multiple characters, multiple points of view. I love every single character except for one, which one of our Patreons, Elliot, can relate with. And it's it's one of the protagonists, Kaladin. And it's mainly just because he does have like the tortured soul down well. That being said, even though he might be my least favorite character, I still love his character development. I still love his role in these books and the way that everybody relates to each other. It's fantastic. If you've not read this series and you like fantasy, please don't be... I know it's big. Okay. I know it's big. I think this one's like 1,500 pages. Oh no.
Mass market.
It's 1,300 pages. But the reading is not difficult. It's just very descriptive. He's just explaining a lot. There's a lot of conversation. There's a lot of thoughts. There's a lot of complexity. I think everyone should read this. I think you should read it at some point. I know that it is a hard thing to commit yourself to if you just want to maybe read one over a few months. Do it. This book, one of the best books I've ever read. This is in my top 10 of forever, but it's definitely in my top 5 of this year.
All right, and next for me, in contrast to a video that we just did, which I won't spoil my answer for one, this was supposed to be one of those books meets one of my favorite books, and this is how you do it correctly. This is These Holo Vows. This was actually one of our first videos. I did a review of this book. It was one of our first videos to ever hit 200 views, which I know sounds small to a lot of people, but that was, you know, a milestone in our channel. But I really loved this book, and I think that everything about it's done well. The world building, the romance, there's a very well done love triangle. Even if you don't like love triangles, this one is done really well. I just honestly loved everything about this world. The characters stand out. Again, I think it makes my list because the writing's is done really well. It was a replacement for a letdown last year. And yeah, again, there's a really good love triangle. There's a little bit of steaminess, but not too much, and it's very meaningful. Yeah, I can't wait for the second one. I actually need to pre-order it before I forget. It comes out, I believe, summer 2022. So yeah, please read this book, and if you do, hit me up and let me know what you think about it, even if you don't like it.
Okay, so next up for me, I took a American Naturalism and Realism course this semester, and I am very blessed to have a lot of teachers who believe in intersectionality and who also believe in expanding our canon from the Western idealized, mainly white men, to incorporate the experience of all people who, and we're talking about America here, who have the American experience. He's actually introduced me to Indian American authors. Louise Eldridge was introduced to me by this professor. I can't think of all of them off the top of my head, but multiple people of color, multiple women. And this is one of these that he actually, and I wanted to just praise the Lord during this, is he took out Huckleberry Finn, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, who's written by Mark Twain, who's a realist, which most of us in America have had to at least read excerpts of, if not the whole book, multiple times, which I was super duper thankful for, because most of us in America have had to read the Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, or at least excerpts of it, multiple times. And it is The Morrow of Tradition by Charles W. Chestnut. Charles Chestnut was a journalist, a Black journalist in, I believe, either Cleveland or Cincinnati, Ohio. And he also wrote a lot of what we call plantation narratives in literary field. We try not to use the word plantation when we're actually talking about these institutions in scholarship, but these are called plantation narratives. And he wanted to essentially de-glamorize what was being glamorized by other authors of the time, who were glamorizing this life on the plantation, much kind of like the idea now of people getting married at plantations. It was kind of like writing these glorious old South days, right? Well, Charles Chestnut takes that and turns it on its head in some of his short stories. This book here talks about the actual insurrection that happened in Wilmington, North Carolina, that most Americans don't, including me until this class, didn't know about, where anywhere from 30 to 300 Black people were murdered to overthrow a government that was just instituted by a Democratic vote, which was predominantly Black. The KKK came in, began running propaganda scheme, and charged a man with murder and theft, and obviously he didn't commit it. And it started, if you have heard about this, normally it's called the race riots in Wilmington, and it's kind of blamed on these Black men who were actually murdered, and that's not at all what happened. A bunch of white people lost their mind, and it's the only successful insurrection that's ever happened on American soil post the American Revolution. It is written wonderfully. It has tons of characters, very complex writing, very interesting character development. I think everybody should read this book, particularly if you're an American.
All right, so complete left turn once again. We read such different things, which I think is what makes our channel go around. But complete left turn for me is This Poison Heart. I loved this book. It's the first in a new series, which I do need to pre-order the second one. And also, like, can we just admire this cover? The second cover is also very good, and it has the love interest on it. This is not a spoiler. It's written in the book, the what the book's about.
Synopsis.
Yeah, it is a LGBTQ book, and one of the things that I really loved about this, first of all, the main character has two moms, and rarely in YA books do we have anything to do with the parents because they're usually like orphaned or something of the sort.
Or there's like one parent.
Yeah, but there are two moms, and they are throughout the whole book, and it's very important part of the story. They adopted her, but yeah, you can look up what the book's about. But what I really loved about it was the writing, the world building, the characters, and then the love interest in this is a female, and she portrays those characteristics that we usually look at in males. Like, she's very dark and mysterious, and has these great powers, and is wealthy. Just the kind of things that we usually see portrayed in men. I really enjoyed seeing it in a sapphic YA story, and I really can't wait for the second one. Also need to pre-order this.
Okie dokie. Let's see. Oh, yes. All right. Next up for me was our most recent Patreon buddy read. This book is transcendent, in my opinion.
It's very good.
It will be also entering probably my top 10 favorite books of all time, and that is Anthony Doerr's Cloud Cuckoo Land. I needed time.
Me too.
After I read this because of how well done. For anybody who's fans of David Mitchell or like Stephen Graham Jones or Jeanette Winterson, Hilary Mantel, maybe not her historical fiction, but her other works, I would recommend this book. It takes place over, there's 3 different timelines, past, present, and future. It is a meta-narrative, and it has essentially a meta-genre as well. It crosses multiple genres. Slight historical fiction, it's definitely postmodern. It has slight sci-fi elements to it. Literary fiction, romance. There's all sorts of stuff going on in this book, and it's also tied so well together.
It's so good.
It has such an intricate plot line that just develops so organically. This man is incredibly talented. Yeah. He deals with gender, he deals with sexuality in just such a beautiful way. None of it feels contrived, and none of it feels forced in. It all feels very human.
It's very good.
Yeah, I can't recommend this book enough. I will definitely reread it, maybe sometime next year. I'll do a reread of it. I finished this in 2 days, and it's kind of chunky, though there are a lot of pages that are there's nothing written on because it's just so beautiful. And I know other people in our community, our Patreon buddies, read this super quick too because it's so hard to put down. It's so good.
They also left like the same way I did when I finished this book. I was just sitting on the couch and I was like, I gotta take a shower because I don't know what the world is, and I don't know what this means, and my brain hurts, and I don't know which way's up. And it leaves you very contemplative.
Yeah, I think my review of it in our Discord just said, "Don't talk to me."
Yeah.
I started putting stars underneath stuff so people weren't confused. It was a 5-star,
Yeah.
Don't talk to me, not a 1-star, don't talk to me.
All right. The next one, I'm not going to say anything about because you know what this book is. You know what it's about. Most of you probably like it. Some of you probably hate it. I don't really care. Okay,
What's
I'm done.
that?
Next.
What is that? I've never heard of it.
Google it.
Okay. My next pick is a translated work by Agustina Basarica.
May I ask a question?
It's last. Thank you.
Wait.
You can cut that out. You went first, honey. You're bad at giving away surprises, aren't we?
Apparently, this is a new thing for me.
I guess you could cut that out if you want, or if it's funny, you can leave it in. All right. My 4th choice.
Sorry.
You can bleep it out. That would be funny if you could bleep it out. Where's beep? Okay, anyways. My 4th choice is a translated work by Agustina Basarica. It's called Tender as the Flesh. It is, she is a Argentinian author. This is a sci-fi dystopian horror book. I think it kind of crosses those 2 genres pretty well. I actually was able to use this in my semester and compared it with The Jungle by Upton Sinclair, as they both talk about the food processing industry and about economics and government and those type of things. I I think about this book probably once a week. Particularly with the fact that I was a vegetarian for 5 years. And recently, maybe like 2 years ago, started eating meat again. And I always have like a issue off and on wanting to go back being a vegetarian. This book did not help that. Essentially, it briefly just is what happens if we lose all the animals and people still want meat?
Okay, that's enough.
Everything's very clinical. It's very, so it kind of dehumanizes on purpose the characters. I will say, for people who haven't read this, to me the most disturbing part was the idea of human being treated like cattle in all ways. I won't go into what that means, but in all ways, not just food processing. So if stuff like that's sensitive, don't read it. But I will say that the terminology is very clinical. So it's not like overtly grotesque. There's not it's not like Stephen King level gore. It's more like, here's the gore, but we're gonna act like we're gonna read from a medical textbook, almost.
Somebody's getting bored.
Depersonalized. Yeah, I know.
All right, so the last one for me, also no surprise to anyone, but is The Love Hypothesis. I loved this book. I thought everything about it was well done, especially because I come from academia of sorts. I was a tutor at a college for a bit, and I just know a lot about how these things work, and I felt like it told a very true story. Also, it has demisexual rep. The main character is demisexual. If you don't know what that means, it means that you don't feel sexual attraction to someone unless there is an emotional attraction first. I didn't even... Okay, so the biggest complaint I've heard about this book, which makes me want to roll my eyes, but is that it is... It came from Rilo fanfic, but like I didn't even know that until weeks after I read this book and had no clue. So like you don't need to know anything about that, and that criticism is honestly can go out the window.
I think people use that criticism because they I think it gives them a reason to, because like they're comparing it to fan fiction, so they're essentially saying that like it's not good enough to be published, even though tons of books have come out of authors of fan fiction.
So, it's very good. Everything about this book is good. It's Grumpy Sunshine. There is a one bed trope as well. Trigger warning for talks of sexual assault. But that is handled very well in the book, in my opinion. I loved everything about it, and most of you already know that. And we're going to be doing a video where we make each other read each other's favorites. This might be the one that I have Casey read. It's definitely in the running because I do think she would actually like it, which says a lot for a romance book. But yeah, please just read it. It's very, very, very... That was my last one.
Okay.
Beep.
Yeah, here's my last
Sorry.
one. And it is My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones.
This is a hot take because this book did not do very well.
It's got a 3.6 rating, I believe, on Goodreads.
Which is not very...
And
well,
I believe
it's like...
Only Good Indians has like a 3.7.
Yeah.
And the reason why, and I this is my opinion, obviously. I think the reason is that he does a lot of stream of conscious writing. When he always writes in the point of view, obviously, the characters. And for instance, this follows a character named Jade, and the love and care that he gave to this character and her development is beautiful. And I think what happens is she gets lost in her thoughts, which comes out in the writing, and I think when reading that, it can be very confusing if it's not what you like to read, and I don't blame anybody for that. I had to go turn back pages and be like, wait, is this just a reference to something? Is this her being, is this just her like talking in her head and just kind of being everywhere? Is this part of the plot? So I think people get lost in that, and it's completely understandable. I really like it because I like character studies, I like character development, and the way that he handles this character is so beautiful. I think I even almost cried at the end of it.
You did, yeah.
Also, it's a love story to slasher films. Deep. Like, we're getting into, like, giallo flicks from the 1960s, Italian giallo flicks, which is a form of kind of pre-slasher horror, essentially, but sort of. Some of it's post-slasher. And anyways, you don't need a history lesson of giallo movies. But, so it gets deep into the slasher, and it's a kind of like a, she wants to train this person that she thinks is going to be the final girl for a active slasher that she believes is coming. And there's a twist at the end that is, I can see maybe also kind of turning people off if they didn't read some of his other work and understand some of like the kind of mythos he likes to apply and the supernatural elements that he likes to apply to books, I will say that. I liked it because it kind of takes the punch out of everything that this girl was believing in. Stop doing that. Look down.
I know, I can feel her. She's getting bored.
Look at her though.
I know, babe.
Look at her.
I know, I see her.
But yeah, so I can see why people don't like this book. I think that it is almost up there with Oathbringer to me and Cloud Cuckoo Land. I got to read some really great books this year.
Yeah, me too.
And I adore this book with my whole heart. I'm actually going to be buying a copy of this for a professor I'm doing an independent study with because he is even deeper into horror than I am, and I think he's going to like this book a lot. He also likes postmodern work and horror books, so I think he'll really like this. But I understand if you don't like this. I understand that if it was confusing. I understand that if you didn't like the ending, that it was kind of, you wanted it to be a different type of twist. Completely get it. For me, it worked perfectly. I thought it was beautiful. I think everybody should read this book, but I don't think the book is for everybody, if that makes sense.
Definitely.
Yep.
All right. So those were our favorite books of 2021. We read a lot of good books this year. It was our first year on BookTube. 2022, we're coming for you. As always, we really appreciate you all. There's still time to sign up for the readathon if you would like to join us for our readathon. The information is in the description box below. And as always, our Discord is such a wonderful place to be. But yeah, we thank you guys so much. A special thank you to our patrons, and we'll see you in the next video.
Bye.
Bye.